So we're back to reviewing military kits. Today we're going to be looking at Tamiya's Panzer III Ausf. Now there are several different versions of this particular kit out there. A basic version that has just plastic, but this version which has a little bit of photo etch, and then a more expensive version that has a lot of photo etch. So be aware of that. This particular review is in regards to the mid-level version. Now let's get into it. Now, right out the gate, you can definitely tell it's Tamiya's typical quality. Everything's very nicely cast. I've given two options here for different mantle parts, or actually, scratch that. These are two different side parts for the side. Sorry about that, I had a bit of a brain fart. Here, as well as the front mounting. Kit does come with two figures with it. The first one, which is fairly nicely cast, pretty basic standing figure, nothing too dramatic. A couple odds and end parts here, including various hatches. Do like how they did the recessing on these hatches here, as if you're fairly careful, you might be able to cut them out and basically effectively make them operable if you're careful and a little lucky. In fact, from the looks of it, you could probably do that to most of the hatches, at least on this sprue. Also, nice addition is having a set of headphones for the figure, which is a nice little added touch. Now, moving on to the next sprue, we have a lot of the parts for the gun. In fact, you do have a full internal build of the main gun on this kit, which is a nice surprise, as you typically do not get that. So this says to me that they really want you to open it up and leave the hatches open so you can, look down in and see. However, the casting on this figure is a lot poorer in comparison to the other, as you can see here with just how the pants legging is in a lot of ways an unnatural sort of shape. I would almost say take this figure, cut off the legs, and mount a different set of legs on them. Does come with several accessories, including different style of gun, though the casting there is not very good. Try to show that as best I can. But yeah, the casting on the firearms is a little poor. But other than that, the rest of the casting, though, is very nice. You're given two different mantles for the gun, so be aware of which version you're planning to do. A couple other odds and end parts here. Kit comes with the sort of rubbery type of tracks. Get rid of them. They're not worth wasting your time on them. Spend the money and get an accessory kit. Now, I've had nothing but trouble with those kind of style of tracks. So, moving on, we have our main upper hull assembly. Fairly basic in terms of detail that's present, which is nice, as it allows you to paint what parts need to be painted separately, what ones need to get attached can get attached. So, very nicely done here. What's more, if you recall my earlier Panzer II video, you can now really sort of start to see how the Panzer design has evolved and gotten larger. So that's a neat little comparison. Got various odds and ends, hatch mountings, and the like, as well as various covers as well as the muffler and the exhaust system, which is nice. The fact that they have this opened from the get-go is a nice addition. A couple other odds and end parts, and a few detailing parts. Continuing on, we have our main hull. Looks like a different gun variant, possibly. It's not for use in this particular version of the kit. In fact, I'd almost be willing to bet on that. Turret hull is fairly basic. I do know there's a couple versions in arcing options that have the smoke launchers attached to this part. However, there's no real mounting brackets or any points for it, which is a little bit of a disappointment. Moving on, we have the cupola parts, as well as the hatching and all that. Moving on, and we also have a lot of the other various parts that go into assembling the main gun, as there's a lot of parts that go into that. I do like the fact they included the commander's step on the lower part of the hull, which is a nice addition, so it will make doing a diorama a lot easier. Next to last, we have the wheels and a couple other various odds and end parts. A couple extra treads for mounting on the front for a little added armor, but nothing really jumps there. And lastly, we have the main lower hull. Would nice had a couple of these things been molded separately, but you know, that's more nitpicky. So now let's move on to some of the details, extra details. Now I'm leaving this in the bag simply because it's small and I don't want to lose it. But here we have the main metal part for the gun. It's fairly nicely cast. There is some rifling on the inside, which probably is not going to show up too well on camera, but it's there. So it's definitely doing its job. Now here's where we have a bit of a problem. The kit's photo etch metal parts that are supplied aren't for a Panzer III. They're for a Stug 3. Why they chose to do this, I don't know. I've looked through kit instructions to see anywhere where these might be usable, but I can't find it. So for the most part, I'd say these are, at least for this kit, is unusable. So if you got a spare Stug 3 laying around that could use some extra detailing, you know, you got a basic photo etch set there for it. Now moving on to the decals, again leaving them in here just because I don't want to let them get away, but what the hell, go ahead and open them. No, fairly standard quality, nothing really to shout about, nothing really to complain about. Now moving on to the instruction sheet, you're given one booklet with a bunch of information, as well as the painting instructions, which I'll get to after. But assembly is a little intensive, at least as far as you know, some of it goes, but nothing really that I would say is out of the realm of possibility. It's mainly going to be time consuming and going to be totally up to your preference in terms of the amount of detail you want to do. Only real thing I would say is just be careful with some of the smaller parts, as they can easily get damaged or lost. The main thing though I would say definitely be careful with is building up the main gun, the internals, just because it is a little bit more complicated, so make sure you're getting the right parts, since there are a couple included in the kit. And then obviously careful again when you're doing final assembly, as that does look like it could very easily be damaged. But other than that, it's it's a fairly basic build. I wouldn't recommend this as a first build, but it's definitely within reason. Now you're given 3 marking options: 1 two-tone winter scheme, 1 desert scheme two-tone, and 1 summer scheme tritone. So all 3 look like they'd be very nicely done once finished, but again, nothing to really jump out about. So overall, what do I think about this kit? I'd say it's a bit of a mixed bag, especially given some of the false advertising as far as the photo etch that is supplied with this version of the kit. I've not looked at fully the more expensive fuller photo etched version. However, I would say skip this version and get the basic version or the more expensive version, as this one's not really worth the money given the fact that you're not getting the full photo etch treatment for it. The only really nice addition is the gun barrel, but you can probably get that separately for roughly around the same cost. So yeah, that was a look at Tamiya's 1/35th scale Panzer III Ausf.N, the sort of mid-level photo etched version. A bit disappointed with it, and I would definitely say this is one you can skip, or either get the cheaper non-photo etched version or the more expensive full photo etched version. So till next time.